A very good evening, viewers. We have a very exciting live session lined up for you today. Today, we are going to know all about Edith Cowan University, their courses, campus, infrastructure, scholarship, intakes, and also all about how it is to be studying in Perth. Joining us is Adam Bryers, International Manager at Edith Cowan University. Adam, welcome to the session.
Thanks very much, Deepa. I'm very happy to be here. I really appreciate the invite.
Thank you. We will also be taking questions from our audience and we'll be answering them at the end of the session. So feel free to drop in your questions in the comment box below and get your answers straight from the university representative. Adam, you may start your session.
Thanks very much. So welcome everybody. So I'm actually in Melbourne as well at the moment. Been stuck here for a while, heading back to Perth in a couple of weeks after a long time in Melbourne due to the pandemic and borders and so forth. So it's 5 p.m. here in Melbourne and sun's still shining. So wherever you are, welcome. So what I'm going to do is just do a short presentation. It'll go for about 20 minutes or so. And then after that, we will, as Deepa said, we'll have questions and answers. I'll step back and let the Aussizz people take over, which they're very good at. So let's see if I can. Deepa, just check that you can see my screen properly.
Really good. Yeah, we can.
Okay, thanks. All right. So welcome everybody. That's me when I look a bit more professional. So I'm called International Account Manager. Generally, I do more offshore work and I do places like the Middle East and Pakistan, but obviously, with the last couple of years and because I've been in Melbourne, so I've been doing a lot more onshore work, and some of you may have heard of my name because I've been working with lots of students going from the eastern states like Melbourne and Sydney over to Perth. We've had some good numbers. We had more than 100 that went over just in the last semester. So so it's been good, and I think we've got a bit more of a brand on the eastern side. We used to have campuses in Melbourne and Sydney with a partner, and unfortunately those sort of stopped a while back. But maybe at some stage we may get another campus in Melbourne, but nothing sort of confirmed at the moment, just discussions. But I have been ECU Melbourne now for time. So we're going to talk today. I'm going to give you some key information about ECU, and then I'm just going to talk about some of our courses in areas like engineering, cyber data science, business, and everyone's favorite topic, nursing. I'm leaving that one to last because I know that will keep your attention on the other ones. I know how popular nursing is, so you're gonna have to put up with a few other courses before we get to nursing. I'll talk a bit about scholarships and then just some special sort of innovative things that we're doing at the moment where you can interact with current students. So I hope you're ready. So why Perth? Perth is actually, it's funny because I've done so many events and people say, like, when I'm offshore, like if I've been in Pakistan or India or other places, they go, how close is Perth to Melbourne? And I say, it's actually 4 hours from Perth to Melbourne to fly, but in actual fact, we're a lot closer to you. And they look at me in a weird way and walk away. So they get a bit confused. So obviously, Melbourne and Sydney, big populations of students, very famous places. But I think that, we've always had students coming to Perth, but I really do. I think we're much more on the map now, especially after the pandemic. Like you will know that, well, because West Australia was closed, they didn't have any virus at all while it was raging here in other parts of the world. And now that the borders are open, obviously the virus has taken hold. But I was chatting with the exec dean of engineering today, and the actual numbers of deaths have, I think it's only been 4 or 5 since December. Mm-hmm. So I think the way they've managed is really good. Obviously, they're now vaccinated and so forth. So they managed to get through. The economy was good the whole time. It was actually a bit of a boom because the WA is very strong in mining and oil and gas. So yes. The mining was huge during the time. There was big demand for iron ore because China is the main trading partner, couldn't get it from other places. So it's just done really well. So it's pulled through the pandemic well. It's got the most hours of sunshine of any Australian city in Australia. It's a very natural and beautiful place. It's a very outdoor place. It's very healthy. I know that when I get back to Perth, I'll probably drop a few kilos because I'll be doing more exercise. It's got a very, very, very good quality of life. It's very friendly. It's very laid back. It's very relaxed. And it doesn't have, because it's got less population, still has population, but less traffic, just less intense compared to other parts of Australia. So I think that's a good thing. You know, maybe for someone that's come from India, they might not worry so much about it, you know, especially if you come from places like Delhi or other big cities in India, as an example, and, you know, other parts of the world. But yeah, look, it's a really great place. It's a really great place to, you know, maybe to do some study, you know, to, you know, think about staying longer there. You know, I think there's got a lot of attributes. So yeah, I do believe it's going to become more popular. I mentioned before, the economy is really good. Really low unemployment rate, but obviously that's across Australia. One thing about Perth, and this is a known fact, well, two things. One is that cost of living is generally cheaper in Perth compared to other parts of Australia. I'm not exactly why that is, but it is a sort of like a known thing that it's a bit cheaper to live in WA. But on the other side, wages are higher in WA compared to other parts of Australia, and I know that because I know that I'm earning, for people that do the same work that I do here in Melbourne, even though I'm in Melbourne and get paid for Perth, I'm on higher money, and I think that's across the board. So it's just I think maybe, you know, because it's more isolated, they've got to give higher wages. Again, I'm not sure of the economics, but yeah. So now the other thing is it's regional. So I believe at the moment that so it's an extra year of post-study work. So instead of 2 years post-study work, it's normally 3 years. But I believe that if you do a master's course, that in the current times, you're actually getting up to 4 years post-study work. Is that correct, Deepa?
Yes.
Yeah.
So students would get 3 years automatically for master's in coursework, and then the 1 additional year because it's in a regional study area.
Thanks. Now, look, this is our main campus in Joondalup, which you can see. We have 3 campuses. Our main campus is in Joondalup, which is about 30 minutes north of Perth.
Yes.
Excuse me. That's not COVID, by the way. It's just cough. I got tested. That's our main campus. We have another campus in a suburb called Mount Lawley, which is sort of closer to the city centre. That's where we do things like English and more like our humanities and other courses. That campus is closing down. And in 2025, we're opening a city campus, millions and millions of dollars, state government, federal government, ECU. I think it's like up around about $800 million. More money has been injected into it. So it's very exciting. We're the first university that are going to have a purpose-built campus in the centre of Perth. And the idea of it is to try and improve the general feel of Perth, the downtown of Perth, which is always a bit quiet, unfortunately. It's just the nature of the city. So yeah, and then we've got another campus down in Bunbury where we do certain courses. We do nursing, we do commerce. We also do things like social work. So Bunbury, I think, is considered ultra regional. Is that the case, Deepa? Do you know?
I guess we should ask a migration agent on that.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk to migration agent. But we do. So we've got 3 campuses, but the main campus is in Joondalup,
right,
which is about 30 minutes north of Perth. So of the campuses, so we've got over 30,000 students across our 3 campuses, and we used to have around 6,000 international students, but obviously we haven't had so many students coming in over the last couple of years. So I think it's dropped, but I believe it will go up again quickly now that the borders are open. So look, those are some really good reasons to stay at ECU. Things I'd like to point out is the applied learning focus. So a lot of ECU courses have some sort of placement, internship, workplace project, something along those lines. A lot of universities in Australia will say that they do practical applied learning, okay, so to help you get into jobs. But for someone who's been in industry now for quite some time and worked at different universities, I really do believe that ECU does deliver on this. You know, that would, you know, and you can see it if you're looking at course structures about these are practical placements and so forth. But, you know, like the more I talk to different course coordinators and so forth, I think it's something that ECU does really well. So I think there's a really good chance. I mean, you need to check beforehand, but there's a lot of opportunities that you can get practical experience while you're studying. And I've just done a whole process of showcasing certain courses, and I've been talking to students that have got amazing jobs. You know, some of them are on their 2nd or 3rd job, you know, accounting, information systems, cybersecurity, like they're all doing really well. And they really you know, they really pin it down to what they studied and what they learned and the practical experience they got when they're at ECU. We're quite new. we've only, like, we were a teachers' college for 100 years. We came a university in 1991. So we're very modern, very sort of new facilities a lot of the time. So that, I think it's a really important point. The final thing is that it's a very supportive place. Like, it's a very supportive, friendly place, and students often talk mostly about the support they got from the different staff, from international staff, teachers, lecturers, student administration, so forth. So, yeah, so you don't need to be scared if you're going to ECU. You feel like, you know, that you're going to be sort of embraced and become part of our family if you go there. Won't go too much to the rankings. We are improving in rankings as a new university, you know, but you've done very well in the Good Universities Guide now for 15 years. There's a ranking called QUILT, which is a domestic ranking that some of you might know. I think it's been going about 5 or 6 years now. And we've always ranked very high for public universities, either in student experience or teaching quality over that time. So something that we're very proud of. We rank in the top 100 according to Young Universities for that times. And we're in the top 500 now. And then for some things like engineering, for example, we're actually in the top 175 for engineering and technology as a subject. So we're doing well. I always say ECU, it's like a good investment. We're definitely not going to go backwards. So if you get an ECU degree, these rankings are just going to improve over time. So it's going to go up in value. It's not going to go backwards. You know, there's no way. Right, so these are some, we have a wide range of courses, and I won't go into it, but these are some of our more popular courses, just to give you sort of an idea of the different things that we teach. What don't we teach? We don't teach pharmacy, we don't teach medicine, we don't teach dentistry, we don't teach vet science, we don't teach physiotherapy. Other than that, we probably cover most courses. Those are the different schools that we have. So we've got 8 schools, including WAPA, which is a very prestigious Academy of Performing Arts, one of probably 3 in Australia of that type of school. But you can see, you know, arts and humanities, business and law, engineering, science, so forth, nursing, and also teacher education as well. So I'm going to talk a bit about engineering very quickly. So I mentioned we were ranked in the top 175, 2022 now, so that's outdated. So we've actually still done it. We're still in there. And we do undergraduate courses, and they're all the different streams that we do, fully accredited by Engineers Australia and recognised by the Washington Accord. We also have a great master's as well. So these are for people that have a degree in engineering. Okay, you have to have a degree, like an accredited degree, which is equivalent to an Australian degree. So the purpose of Master of Engineering is there's two things. One, you can continue on with your, if you want to upskill in an area, so you're a mechanical engineer and you want to like do more advanced study in mechanical engineering, you can do that. Or if you want to reskill, so for example, you know, you're a chemical engineer and you want to become a mechanical engineer or petroleum engineer, then you can also use this to reskill. So it actually has 2 purposes. You can upskill and reskill. Fully accredited by Engineers Australia and also recognised by the Washington Accord, and you must do a 12-week practicum placement during the course. It is up to you to find that, but of course we'll do our very best to help you. The school will help you to find that placement. Huge demand for engineers at the moment in WA because of the economy. So yeah, so it shouldn't be hard to get some sort of actual placement. I don't think it'll be an issue. Sometimes students have to do it back in their home country, but I just can't see that happening at the moment, given the demand for engineers. Yeah, we did a testimonial of one of our master's students, Indian lad, who I think he did mechatronics in the master's, and he's now working on sort of for a company doing working on robotic remote vehicles that do underwater and also on land as well as a mechatronics engineer. So he's very happy, doing very well. If you go on the ECU YouTube, you can actually find his testimonial. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but this is one of the students that I was telling you about before. It's doing very well. We've got a new course called NEMTEK. I won't talk about it too much, but basically, if you've done a degree and you can't get into Master of Engineering, if it's been like a science degree and you've done some physics and maths, you can come and do a course called an NEMTEK, which has got less specialization. So it's not accredited, but you can get accreditation as the technologist category for Engineers Australia. You can apply directly. It's a 2-year course. You can get post-study work with it because 2 years of study. But one thing with this course, if you do this course, it does mean that if you do an extra year of study, maybe straight away or after, you've got your 485 visa or whatever you've done, then you can actually get a Master of Engineering, fully accredited Master of Engineering with one further year of study. So it's like a pathway into a Master of Engineering, or you can just use it as a standalone degree. And it's got an 8-week placement as opposed to 12 weeks. So just wanted to let you know it's a new course coming at ECU. Okay, so School of Science has lots of courses, but what I want to focus on is like computer science, which we have, information technology, and something that ECU is very famous for, which is cyber security. And this is a very good area to go in if you're sort of like at the end of a degree and maybe thinking about going into another degree. Master of Cybersecurity. You don't need we're very, the type of background, there's no specific background in terms of and in actual fact, people who have done educational psychology do very well in the Master of Cybersecurity if they can handle the technical side, which they get prepared for. We make sure that we understand who's coming into the course, but because, cybersecurity is also, it's about a lot of it's to do with mind and trying to work out, the mindset of what's going on with the people doing the hacking and so forth. So, it's not just people with technical background do very well in the Master of Cybersecurity. So, again, it's a 2-year course that we do at ECU, and ECU is a pioneer of cybersecurity, and we're one of 2 universities recognised for academic excellence in cybersecurity by the Australian government. The other one is the University of Melbourne. So, we're in very good company. But we've got Master of Computer Science. Data Science is a new course that we've got. It's becoming very popular. Yeah. There's real cybersecurity, massive need for professionals. There's just huge shortages. Data science is the same. That's it's definitely a future career where more and more they're going to need people that do data science. So I just wanted to point out a few courses that. And again, with data science, you don't need an IT background to do data science. You do for computer science. So just some courses that we have. Sorry about that. So Bachelor of Commerce we have. I won't go into that too much. We also have these great postgraduate business courses that are very popular as well. MPA, that's I believe that's back on the state of the national. I think it's on the Federal Occupation Demand List again. So we've got a great MPA course where students have graduated and they're doing good work. Master Management Information Systems, another good course. Project Management, very popular, and MBA International. You don't need work experience for that course. So these are all great courses. They're 2-year courses. It is a full-time course, but you only do 3 units per semester, even though it's full-time. That is because we understand that students need to balance their work life. They've got to do the university and their part-time work and so forth. So we're quite flexible in that way in terms of the way that we deliver these courses. So very popular. They're probably our most popular courses at ECU. Right. Everyone's favorite topic if it's onshore. So nursing. All right. So we do have the Bachelor of Science Nursing, which is C33 code. And this leads to registration as a nurse in Australia. And we also have the Master of Nursing Graduate Entry, which is a 2-year course. So the Bachelor of Science Nursing is 3 years. However, as a lot of people know, if you are a registered nurse from your home country, so I know that it's very popular with people from India and Nepal and places in Africa. If you're a registered nurse in your home country and you have current registration and you have work experience in the last 5 years, so you have to demonstrate that you've had work experience. Very important, it's in the last 5 years of the intake. All right, this is really important. So if you have that, then there's a real possibility, or there is a possibility that you can get up to 2 years credit into the 3-year course. Right. And it means that you have 1 year to complete. So seems like there's only a few universities in Australia that do this. Yes. Okay. You must have English. You must have met English. We don't process your application. We don't do packaging. We don't do conditional on English. You have to have met English before we'll process your offer. So for July, we do at the moment have places for 1st and 2nd year entry. First year would be if you're just coming in clean. So basically you probably don't have any nursing experience. Second year is for students that have done a diploma of nursing in Australia. So you've done a diploma of nursing, or if you're a Nepali PCL nurse, you've done your PCL, but maybe your work experience is outside 5 years, or you never did work experience in the first place.
Yep.
Then you'll get, because we've mapped that. That's the one that we have mapped, and you do get 1 year credit automatic based on the PCL. Your PCL. Okay, so that means that you get second year. We do have places for first and second year entry for July. Third year, which is the one everyone wants to do, unfortunately, the demand outweighs the supply a lot, right? So we've already made, my understanding at the moment is we've got 50 places available. We've already filled probably close to 30 based on applications that didn't make it for semester one. So it might be that they can make more places. We'll just have to see as we go on. So what I'd encourage you to do is you can apply for semester two. I think if you're not on a student visa, if you're on like what we call non-student, so like a 485 or some other visa, that's actually just opening, I think, next week or possibly the week after. It hasn't been opened yet. So what we, Deepa and I were talking before we came online, what we do, we encourage you to make an application for July. However, we want to manage your expectation because there are limited places and it could sort of like first come, first served.
Mm-hmm.
But however, if you don't make it for July, then you're sort of in the running for the following intake, which would be February 23. That's how it worked this time around. So we encourage you to make application. If you're not on a student visa, you need to wait till next week or the week after anyway. You've got to have your English, and you've got to have your other documents that Aussizz will help you with. But first and second year, we do have places for July now again. So,
Adam, one important questions that international students ask us is that why there are so less places, and why does it get so full so soon? And I suppose it's got to do with the placements.
Correct.
Can be approved,
there's very limited number of clinical places, and the pandemic hasn't helped with that because the hospitals have been busy with the COVID patients. But it really, like, we do as many as we can, but it comes down, we've got to make sure that for every student that does the course, they've got a placement. Because if they come to the student, they can't do their placement, they're going to be really upset. The students can be really annoyed. It's like, hey, and they won't be able to register because they haven't done their placement. So that's the issue. Unfortunately, the issue is the limitation is the number of placements. Okay, so so it's sort of out of our hands, but we did manage to secure some additional places in February. So I think we have about 30 additional places on top of the 100 places that we had on offer, and we might be able to do it again for July. But at the moment, what I understand is there's 50 places, but fingers crossed there'll be more, but just trying to, we need to manage your expectation because, in a student's mind, like, you're so desperate to do the course, and, you just got to understand that it's going to come down to availability for places.
Right.
That's for undergraduate. We also have masters. We only have intake one time a year in February. So the next intake for masters will be February next year, but that's a 2-year course. You don't need to, if you do have a nursing background and you do that course, it means that you probably don't have to do this prereq unit in human biology. But if you don't have a nursing background, and you can apply for it, say accounting, engineering, whatever it is, you can apply for this course. But if you haven't done biology in your degree, then you'll need to do this unit. You've got to do one unit, which you can do. ECU do it, but we also accept other places, like, for example, Monash and Duke University is one that we accept as well. But anyway, like, the agent, if you go through an agent, they'll check with us to make sure the course is acceptable for doing the prerequisite, which we did last intake. So, Deepa, before I go on, is there any other questions you want to answer before I move on? I'm almost finished.
Right. You spoke about the undergraduate program for Bachelor of Science Nursing, and especially the conversion part. You shed some light on the PCL. There is a category of nurses, especially from Punjab and Haryana region, called GNM nursing. It's not entirely sure whether it's considered equivalent to a diploma or a bachelor.
Sure, then so it's a really good question, Deepa. So so with with the PCL, with the Nepalese, because everyone does the same course, so we've been able to map it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, with all with the Indian degrees, there's so many of them, as we know, so we don't have any like mapping. We don't have any precedents as such with any Indian universities. But look, it might be possible. So they're not eligible for conversion. It may be possible that they can get some credit, but they've got to go through a process of actually filling out a credit form and making an assessment. But it is possible. Unfortunately, it's not very streamlined. So yeah, so there's no precedent with them. PCL, there's a precedent. With the Indian institutions, there's no precedent. If they don't qualify for conversion, but they have got nursing background, then we can go through a process whereby we do like a credit assessment. Right. But the maximum would be I'm not going to say 100%, but most likely the maximum would be 1 year going through that process. But again, I make no guarantees because I've got to go through process. But does that make sense about why the PCL's mapped and the Indian institutions aren't? Does that make sense?
And in that sense, what can we tell students in terms of assisting the credit transfer process?
No, they've got to submit unit outlines for the unit. So they've got to go through that process. So there's unit outlines and there's a form that we give that they need to fill. Mm-hmm. So, and students don't like it because we're actually asking them to try and identify units that they feel like they should have credit for, which is what we do for domestic students. So we do the same for international students. So if that's the case, you just have to do your best with the form and not try and get too overwhelmed and just say, okay, well, look, I've looked at the ECU course structure and I believe that this unit equals this unit, or this unit equals this unit. So you just have to do the best that you can with that form, and then you just submit it. And then what happens then is admissions send it to the school and it gets assessed for credit.
Right. And of course, the Master of Nursing program is also very popular because people from non-cognate entry can get a chance to study nursing. The prep unit is how long, and what is the cost attached to it? And do students get a COE, which is for the prep unit first, that may start prior to Master of Nursing?
Great questions. Yeah, so the prac unit, it's in the ECU one costs around $700 or $800 for the unit. I believe it goes for about 5-6 weeks.
Okay,
that's the ECU one. But look, as I said, we take others as well. So there's some that we take. For example, Duke University. I don't know what the cost of it is. It's an online one, but it can be turned around. Like people got that one done really quickly. There's some other ones as well. So yeah, the ECU one's about $700-800, and there are alternatives. And yes, we do. From what I can see, we do give like a conditional COE if people do enroll in the ECU unit. We can actually give a conditional COE, and then the only reason why the COE would be cancelled is if they didn't pass the unit. Then we'd cancel the COE. But otherwise, that I don't think that happens very much, or I've never heard of a case of someone not passing that unit.
Okay.
So does that answer that question?
Yeah, and if you could shed a little bit of light on the seat availability for the Master of Nursing as well.
So the Master of Nursing in February just gone, we had 100 places, and I think we ended up filling it with some domestic places in the end, like Commonwealth supported domestic students. So yeah, so it's like there seemed to be places available right up until almost to the start of semester. Okay. We're still processing students for the Master of Nursing graduate entry. So something to think about, like maybe for the future for students. But yeah, there was 100 places in time just gone. So yeah, and it wasn't. We were still going. They weren't all full, even to they did fill eventually, but not right at the end.
And when it comes to the Bachelor of Science Nursing, would you encourage students to apply? Because your processing is based on meritocracy of the application, or is it based on what comes first?
It's based on, from the way admissions are doing it now, they're doing it first come, first serve. So if it's in the system, I think that's the fairest way. They just do it in terms of, when the application came in. One thing they do though, is so admissions often will do the assessment and then they put it in a queue called pen quota. I'm sure some have heard about this queue called pen quota. So if students do put an application, then they can then check if they do go through Aussizz. Just get the agent to check with us, and then we can actually go on the system and see what the, the net, where it's at, whether it's been assessed, whether they're going to get the 2 years credit, what, like we can find out. So even though they're still waiting for offer, at least they can get an idea about whether they're eligible and what sort of credit they're going to get.
All right.
Yeah.
And Adam, we have, of course, nursing is very popular. So we have about 3 questions about nursing.
Can I just finish up and then we'll do them after?
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm almost done and then we can just go into questions.
Yeah.
So look, these are our scholarships. So some of those, the International Undergraduate Scholarship, the Merit Scholarship, the Master's Scholarship, they're for offshore students. I believe there might be some offshore students. So it sort of just depends. It comes down to nationalities and also scores, for the Merit Scholarship. But we do have those. They're automatic. We do them at the time of entry, time of application. Often students say, well, I didn't get my scholarship. So I'm always happy to go on and just explain why they're not. And then sometimes I ask them to be reviewed, if I don't feel like that's been assessed properly. So the other thing is the really great one for all those onshore people is we have what's called an Australian Alumni International Scholarship.
Right.
So this one's for if you've done some sort of study in Australia, for example, you've done diploma, you've done English, you've done at least 6 months into like a master's or a bachelor's with good academic standing. All right. So it means you need to have like passed your units as much as possible. Maybe, it might be one fail or so, but you've got to show good academic standing. Then we will give you 20% off the duration of your study for most of our courses. Some, for example, nursing are exempt from that because nursing don't have a problem filling up their courses, so they don't give scholarships. So sorry about that. But many of our other courses, like all the ones that I mentioned before, would be eligible for this alumni scholarship. So 20% for the duration. So yeah, it's pretty, like you can save up to, if you do an engineering degree, it might be that you save like, just quick things in my head. So 10, 20%, 10%. So anyway, it's a significant amount of money that you're going to save over the period of your study with a 20% scholarship. So yeah, just remember that Australian Alumni Scholarship, 20% duration if you've done some sort of study in Australia and you want to come to ECU. It's my last slide. So we do have this great service service that you can actually talk to current students. So what I'd suggest maybe is grabbing a quick screenshot or a photo of that address. That's our international, that's like the international part of the ECU address, web address. And you can talk to a student and you can also download an e-brochure. All right, so we don't use hard copy brochures anymore. We do e-brochures. So you can do it from that site. And if you download it, it means that automatically in the system, it means that you'll get contacted by one of our sort of student, student liaison people, to help you further with any questions that you might have about ECU if you download a brochure. But it's great. You can actually go online. You can actually click on the students and find a student in a course that you might be interested in, or maybe nationality, and just reach out to them and just start having an online chat as well. All current ECU students. So yeah, I'd really encourage you to do that because I know it's best if you can get information directly from the source because you feel more comfortable, that you feel like the answers, right? Maybe you might see me as a bit of a marketing person, sales, you might not completely trust what I say, fair enough. But hopefully, if you talk to the students, then, you can get the answers that you want. So that's it from me for my presentation, and more than happy to go into questions now.
Yes, thank you, Adam. That was a wonderful description about ECU and all the courses that ECU has to offer.
Sure.
We have questions from our Facebook as well as our YouTube channels, and obviously nursing is popular. So I think some of the questions we may have answered in the session. Sure. Are you offering any scholarship to international students for Master of Nursing? So that's a no.
Yeah, we do, but because we have some other courses, we have it's called a Bachelor of Science Nursing Studies and then a Master of Nursing, but those courses don't lead to registration. Right. So but for those ones you can get scholarship. They've got a lesser IELTS requirement as well, but generally for rare people, maybe Middle Eastern people that just want to get a degree and then go back, and work as a nurse, But yeah, but the ones that lead to registration, no, as I mentioned in the presentation.
So not the alumni scholarship, but also no merit scholarships for that. Yeah. All right. Just clarifying. And let me just quickly log into our YouTube to see the questions there. Yeah. Hello. Sony Adhikari wants to know how is the Edith Cowan University's Master of Nursing graduate entry? I guess she wants to know about the quality of the course, probably, because the question is how is, but I guess we have given enough information about the Master of Nursing.
Well, maybe one thing, like our courses, we're accredited by APRA, okay, yes. Which is I'm not going to go into that acronym, but that's the governing body for nursing programs. So we have a great reputation. ECU School of Nursing, I think it's the biggest nursing school in WA.
Yes.
And possibly the oldest. I don't know. It's hard to know because I know Curtin has a big school as well, but we have a fantastic reputation, and our nurses have a great reputation in the industry as well. So you don't need to concern yourself with the quality of ECU nursing at all.
Wonderful. And does Edith Cowan University offer conversion program for international nurse? That's from DB. Yes, we've touched on that, I think.
Talked about that, yep.
Yeah, and suggest students to quickly apply, even for...
Well, just to clarify, yeah, so because if you're on a non-student visa, so you're on 485 or whatever it is, it actually it's only opening, and this is for all ECU courses for those students in that category.
Yeah.
It's opening, I believe, maybe next week or possibly the week after. So you haven't, if you're on one of those, you haven't missed out because no one's been able to get in at the moment. So chat with Aussizz, and then when it's open, I will definitely be letting my good friends at Aussizz know when it's open, so then they can start getting those applications in for non-student visa.
In that sense, 485 students would be considered international students.
Yeah. And can I just talk a little bit about too? So when it comes to 485, if you're not on a student visa, this is very confusing for some people, but I think Aussies get it more than maybe some other agencies. But so if you're on a 485 visa, you don't get a COE. So you do go through the process. You don't get a letter of offer. You do get an offer email, which you accept. And you accept the email, and then you generally just pay a deposit. We don't actually ask for full fee. You pay a deposit, although a lot of students like to pay full fee just to get paid.
Yeah.
And then with that guarantees your place. I mean, if you've accepted and you paid fee and we've given you a receipt, 100% you've got a place. There's been no problems with this whatsoever, but we don't give a COE because you don't need the COE because you don't need to apply for a student visa unless your 485 visa is going to expire during the time of study. Then we'll process you as a student visa and we'll give you a COE. If it's in the first 6 months that your 485 were to expire, if it's later than 6 months, then again, we just treat you like a 485 visa, because what happens when you get close to your visa expiry, you go into student success, they give you your COE, and then you extend out your visa at the time. So just to clarify that, but unfortunately, one thing for the conversion students that are on a non-student visa, they get a bit confused, because we give the amount of credit points that you've been exempt on the email, and it's not very clear, and it's a bit sad and unfortunate. We're trying to work around it, but unfortunately, things don't always work well within universities between different areas like admissions and marketing. So if you've got 120 credit points is 1 year.
Yes.
240 credit points. So if you have an offer with 240 credit points exemption, that's 2 years.
Right.
So 120 credit points, 3 years is 360 credit points. It's 120 credit points a year. So just try and, look, I doubt this will be remembered, but Deepa, you might remember as staff, but just try and make a few pointers because it can get a bit confusing. Yeah. So get it out there.
Just a small question. So does it mean that, so you have 30 places left for batch of,
maybe we got 50 places, and I know that a certain number of offers have gone out and most of those students have accepted. So I think we've got about somewhere between 20 and 25 places left at the moment. But yeah. So
that the 485 students also compete in that pool, or is it outside?
Yeah, well, so now it's going to be, so it will be all the students now from now on will compete in that pool. It may be that more places become available. I don't know. We just have to, at the moment, that's what they've got. The school said they hope that more places will become available. But yes, all those, so everyone will be competing. They're not any different to, they're treated the same.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so that would mean that as more places become available, admissions could be finalized closer to the intake date as well.
Exactly. We could like, generally the offers go out in batches. So, it might be nursing will say, right, we've got another 50 places. And then, so admissions will go in, they'll get the next 50 students and make offers. So nursing offers have a 4-week validity. Another very important point. So if you get an offer for nursing at ECU,
right,
not the masters for the only for the undergraduate,
right,
you must accept within 4 weeks, because otherwise it becomes void and we give the place to another person because obviously it's so popular. So undergraduate, 4 weeks to accept that offer if you get an offer.
Right. Wonderful. I think that's an important tidbit students have to know as well. Duality.
Sure.
I guess I think we've covered most of the things. I think we should do it again, Adam, maybe take a different course.
Sure.
And we should repeat the session. I think I've run through the questions as well. Thank you, audience, for being so engaged and asking questions to Adam as well. And we wish you a very good evening and have a happy weekend. Thank you. Thank you, Adam, for the session.
Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.